Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Quantum Mechanix Star Trek The Original Series Captain James T. Kirk 1/6 scale articulated figure. This is from the Quantum Mechanix Master Series articulated line of 6 scale figures. This is also an exclusive, including a phaser rifle. The front of the box, I don't know if you can make out or not, is actually the kind of technical blueprint specs, or kind of outlined in line printing of the USS Enterprise. It's NCC 1701, but it's maybe tip it on the angle. There we go. You can kind of see the outline of the saucer section of the original NCC 1701 Enterprise. While we're at it, spin around the side of the box, you've got QMX, Quantum Mechanix Master Series articulated James T. Kirk 1/6 scale articulated figure. For the back of the box, you can see an actual image of what the figure is going to look like. Captain Kirk with phaser in hand, sporting his yellow Starfleet uniform. Finally, just before Spot goes ahead and opens up the figure, we open up the box itself, and you can see the image of what the figure is going to look like. On the adjacent side, you can see the figure itself, the phaser, the communicator, and a series of interchangeable hands included. Spot's going to take himself a break and get this opened up. When we come back, though, we're going to get a better look at the Quantum Mechanix Master Series Star Trek The Original Series Captain James T. Kirk 1/6 scale articulated figure. There's more heading away, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Just before we have a look at the captain of the USS Enterprise, we'll have a look at the display stand that comes included with the figure. The classic logo is present here on the standard circular display stand, but ultimately, because it's classic Trek, the symbol being on the circle itself almost gives it the indication that it's a more recent Starfleet symbol, which is somewhat not ironic, but I guess they couldn't have just had the display stand as the shape of the actual classic logo. So I understand incorporating it onto a circular main base makes more sense, but I find that interesting, though, that ultimately the classic logo of the classic Starfleet symbol on the black circular stand ultimately makes it look like it's a more current insignia instead. The display stand has an adjustable neck which will accommodate Kirk or any number of the other articulated figures that Quantum Mechanix have in store for collectors. Now let's have a look at the figure itself. Again, Captain Kirk is wearing his classic captain's yellow uniform. It's not quite a full yellow, it's almost a greenish yellow color. His black slacks and a pair of black boots. Eventually, hopefully, Quantum Mechanix will start expanding out their universe. We've already gotten a Spock as well, and eventually I'd love to see them incorporate Kirk's green outfit as well, the one that was kind of more the sash and the little insignia was down at the bottom. I think that would have been an outstanding release, and maybe something that they might potentially look at in future releases. Let's go ahead and look at his face. The face and also likeness is just quite good. Really happy with how it turned out. It looks like, without any doubt, a young Captain Kirk, complete with sideburns on the sides there as well. They've indicated just a little bit of wrinkles in Kirk's face, which I think looks a little bit older when you've got the light on it. Now, in person, when I got him out of packaging, looking at the figure, he doesn't actually look as old as I think he ends up appearing with the light shining on him. They've added just a slight bit of wetness to the eyes, just a little bit of sheen to give the eyes a sense of life to it. It's also interesting, too, that they've given a slight shadowing around the area where his facial hair would be. The hair is quite good. Kirk, I think, William Shatner, when he was still sporting hair, as opposed to later on in his career. But very happy, I have to admit. Very happy with how the face turned out. A side note as well to point out about the feet. The boots themselves, I thought initially were going to be plastic. As it tends to be with 6-scale figures, you generally get, especially like boots, they tend to be more sculpted plastic rather than fabric. I have actually some good news. The folks over at Quantum Mechanix actually gave us fabric boots, complete with zippers on the interior of the boots themselves. A very nice touch. I really, again, truthfully speaking, was really expecting this to be plastic. Very pleasantly surprised, as you can see there, that these are actual fabric boots. The only thing that isn't fabric is the underside of the boot, and that is a plastic. Regarding Kirk's uniform, again, it's the classic yellow and slightly off yellow coloring of his suit, complete with the insignia of Starfleet on the front there. It's got slight bit of a glitter look to it, like he had it in the actual show, and complete with the little star formation in the middle there. Also on the sleeves, he's got his ranking there on the sleeves there, which will again vary from figure to figure. Be a little careful, I would say, some of these little, not chevrons, but little accents that they've added to the sleeves. I wouldn't want to move these too much for fear that these could pop off. And he's got them on both sleeves. The uniform itself, if you lift it up, he does have, and actually funny enough, they've given a little bit of padding to him, which I find is funny. If you lift it up though, he does have a black uniform underneath, but it's the collar section is sewn, it's attached to the actual uniform. It's not that this is a V-cut uniform sitting over top of a black outfit. Now let's have a look at the accessories that come included with this captain. While we're still sticking with the theme of his uniform, they also include a sash that he wears in Season 1 of Star Trek. Later into the seasons, the crew would wear or use, or attach, I should say, the phasers and the communicators to the sides of their legs, but the original season would actually have them wearing a sash. And the sash has this gold trim to it in a brown coloring, and it attaches by Velcro. Now, it doesn't give you very much clearance, I'm afraid, and on the back side there are two strips, one right there, one right there, and that's going to attach the communicator and the phaser. Communicator just attaches by place of magnet. The phaser is a little bit more difficult. There is a magnet right by the handle. It doesn't always catch, unfortunately. However, you can take the smaller phaser and it attaches very easily to the sash. Attaching the sash can be a little difficult only because it doesn't give you much allotment. It gives you just a little bit clearance that you want to take it and find the most narrow place on Kirk, being that his waist. And just to show you what I mean, that's how much clearance it gives you. Attach it into place. It does stay in place. And then you can adjust the uniform over top of it if you so wish. And then you can add things such as the communicator, which attaches to the side, or you can add, again, the phaser. Sometimes you have to line up and try to find the magnet to see whereabouts it is on the sash and attach it in place like that. Later into the seasons, though, they got rid of the sash and instead opted to have, I think they had Velcro in the show, but Quantum Mechanix used magnets that are the insides of his legs where you can attach the phaser and communicators in place. While we're on the topic of phasers and communicators, let's have a look at some of the smaller accessories that come included with Kirk. One of which being an actual functioning, in the sense that the panel does flip up, a practical communicator. And the communicator here feels like it's a metal mesh here. You kind of just want to use the use of gravity to help lift it up. And on the inside you can see the speakers, the 3 different colored knobs, and a series of knobs down below as well. And again, it closes right up. There's the back side of it with the magnet that's going to attach again to Kirk's leg or to the Season 1 sash. He also gets himself a phaser. Phaser is really nicely done. That sort of bluish gray color. Gray in the handle, silver on the ends there. And like the series also, the Communicator or Phaser does have a smaller phaser that can be removed simply by just pulling it off of the top. Now when you put it back, there's a magnet on the one side, there's a magnet on the other, but you can't simply just add it. You have to, there's a little lip on the front here. You want to bring the phaser in on an angle, tuck it into that little slot, and then the magnet will keep it in place. Included as well, you get, well, an ancestor to an iPad. Back in the day, classic Trek, Kirk would have been walking down the hall. Somebody would have given him something that he would have had to note off on or sign off on. A couple of different colored lights there. A clear, a red, and a yellow. If you're able to get the exclusive Quantum Mechanix Kirk, you will also get a phaser rifle, which he doesn't really use very often in the show itself. He's got the these little sections here, spin. Lots of coloring to be said on this. Silver on the end there, a couple of different lights on the sides. Very, very nice looking piece. And again, oh, and there's a little scope there on the top as well. Again, this would be the exclusive if you want to pick up Kirk with the rifle. Quantum Mechanix also got you covered with extra hands as well. Kirk has a total of 8 extra hands, 10 if you count the ones that he's currently sporting in his arm sockets. And those hands vary from ones suitable for holding communicators. There's a couple of open palms, a couple of closed fists, and even a pointing hand as well. To change Kirk's hand, I would say grab the forearm above this area here so you don't accidentally, again, catch or snag on those. And just do a little simple wiggle, pop the existing hand out, and replace it with the hand that you want to use instead. I think personally I'm probably going to be displaying Kirk with his communicator in hand. When it comes to his posability, Captain Kirk has a ball joint that's actually at the base of the neck. He has no secondary ball joint that attaches the neck to the head. Instead, they've opted to sculpt the neck to the head, which sometimes can be a more successful venture. I think this is better suited to have Kirk as one sculpted neck and headpiece, rather than having the neck as a floating standalone component. Shoulders hinge out very, very easily, not restricted at all by the uniform that he's wearing. Forward and back motion is a swivel point right at the little bicep cut here that attaches itself to the shoulder. He has what looks to be a double hinge. Yeah, I would think that would be a double hinged elbow. A rotation and hinge. Now, interesting thing to look at when it comes to the joint of his wrist. Now, normally you've seen joints like this on 6-scale figures before, but Quantum Mechanix give you extra range of motion when it comes to the pegs. The hands rotate easily enough, but then there's this big, broad joint or hinge allowing for extra motion and movement in the arms, or in the hands themselves. Gives you a lot of extra motion and movement, something that you don't see very, very often. When it comes to his torso has a full range of motion with a crunch as well as a rotation in the waist area. Legs go forward and back, a little on the stiffer side, I have to admit. He has a rotation cut or swivel cut right at the top of the thigh, a double hinge knee. And then as for the feet themselves, because they are fabric and not plastic, you got an extra bit of motion in the leg, both in a ankle pivot as well as a rocking back and forth motion on the foot itself. The Quantum Mechanix Star Trek Captain Kirk articulated figure turned out incredible. Gave us just the right accessories that one would look for with collecting a 6-scale figure of the Captain. And again, getting the exclusive version of this guy also includes the phaser rifle. Mezco is also slating a 6-scale release of a Captain Kirk figure. Truthfully though, looking between this Kirk and the other Kirk, it's really night and day. I think Quantum really nailed it in the likeness of Captain Kirk. The fabric material by photo comparisons, I think just looks a little bit more realistic to me. And I love the accessories that they included with him as well. Definitively, this is the Captain Kirk to get if you want to get a 6-scale release of the Enterprise Captain. So I'll put the link down below to Quantum Mechanix if you want to check out some of the other things that they're releasing as well. I'm also going to be having a look at the Spock as well, and I'll show the two side by side. So that's going to happen in an upcoming video. In the meantime, though, again, we were having a look at the Quantum Mechanix exclusive Captain Kirk articulated figure. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more videos heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.